This is literally the most powerful drug that we've ever found. It can beat any drug on the market. What's going on? In today's video, we're going to talk about how to increase brain longevity by building a stronger brain. And the way we're going to do this is by addressing the building blocks of the brain. So right here, we're going to talk about like a pyramid, right? Talk about building blocks. Boom. You have the base of your pyramid, you start to do other things, and then you get to, boom, a healthy, strong brain. So specifically what we'll be talking about is the building blocks. How do you begin to even build a stronger brain? What is the brain cells made of? What are they made of? So a while ago I made 8 ways to boost your brain health. Again, I'm very interested in brain health because of what my family members have experienced, what they've gone through, what I've seen and witnessed myself. And although that was a great article with a lot of good information and good in the video, it was one of my earliest videos, so the video sucks. So I hope this will be a little bit better. I'll be referencing a little bit of that along with a little bit of a podcast by Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's a great neurologist and ophthalmologist out of Sanford Medical School. And I love his podcast. He does great stuff. So I'll be referencing kind of both of those things. And of course, I'll always remember to include any of the articles that I've cited or any of the information that I'm giving away. I'll put it in the description. And as always, I'll timestamp it so you can fast forward through everything and get to where you want to go quicker. The brain cells are going to be the hardest to rejuvenate out of any cells in your body. So if you extract some brain cells, you put them in a little dish and you try to replicate them, you try to make them grow and proliferate, researchers are going to have a really hard time actually making them grow. We're going to be talking specifically about mediating neuron cells and glia cells, which are cells in the brain. Again, if you take these cells and you try to, let's say someone is having brain trouble and you just want to give them some more cells so they can do a little bit better, it's really hard for the body to do that on its own, and it's hard to do it in vitro in a petri dish. I'm very interested in brain health. I personally have witnessed family members suffer from degradation in brain health, and it's not a cool thing to see. It's not a cool process to go through. And I think with such new and emerging data that's coming out, the research that's building on top of former research, it's really interesting stuff, and it needs to be addressed and talked about so that people who know they're genetically prone to brain disease, brain degradation, they can begin to do things about it. So again, I'll be referencing Dr. Andrew Huberman, who is a professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology at Sanford School of Medicine, and he goes over the brain difference between brain modulators and brain mediators. So you might be asking yourself, what is the difference between a modulator and a mediator, and why do I even care? So a modulator is going to be behavior or patterns that we subscribe to in order to keep our brain healthy or not healthy. So whether you know it or not, you are subscribing to behaviors that are going to increase or decrease the health of your brain. So modulators, let's think about it as though we need to keep our brain balanced. We want a good balance, that is not balanced, but you want a good balancing act of your brain to keep it healthy, right? So we'll talk about like such things such as sleep, social interactions, the chemical makeup of your brain, whether that leads to depression or anxiety or stress, how much stress is in your life. So we want to keep it balanced. You want to sleep enough, but of course you don't want to sleep 12 hours a day. I think is a little bit too much. You want to be social, but you don't want to burn yourself out, right? You want to keep these things in balance. You want some form of stress is good. We talk about eustress, so exercise, kind of that stress where you're involved in activities that are going to lead to improvements in your life, versus stress that is getting our hair and stuff done in time for it to look pretty and all that stuff is maybe not that necessary of stress, depending on who you are. That's maybe a bad example, but you get where I'm going. You want to keep it balanced. So that's going to modulate your brain activity. It's going to help you to, keep that brain, the levels in our brain balanced. A major part of that brain modulation is going to be exercise. It's recommended that you get about 150 to 180 minutes of exercise, cardiovascular exercise. Exercise is going to help decrease your all-cause mortality, so death by all causes, by 3 to 5 times compared to people that do not exercise. This is literally the most powerful drug that we've ever found. It can beat any drug on the market, and that's exercise. Being in the right cardiovascular shape, having the right bone density, and having the right muscle mass. And you don't even have to be a super athlete to get to see most of these gains. You just really have to be in better shape than average. In comparison, smoking and obesity is going to increase your risk of death 3 times compared to someone who doesn't smoke or is not obese. There's a lot of things that you can do to modulate your brain health, like we mentioned, getting enough sleep, making sure that your stress is in appropriate levels, meditation, exercise, those kind of things. But today we're going to be talking about, in an effort to increase our brain longevity, we're going to talk about brain mediators. So again, mediators of the brain are the building blocks of the brain. So what makes up the base of that pyramid, the blocks that go into that base, which are going to then form to function your brain cells. In particular, we're going to talk about mediating neurons and glia cells. So both the brain neurons and glia cells are going to help the brain function and play a big role in cognition. So the makeup of a brain cell is going to be a lot of, that's my attempt at drawing a brain cell, pretty bad, but I'm working on it, don't worry. The makeup of a brain cell is going to be a lot of fat-based things. It's going to require a lot of lipids, phospholipids, and things like that to make up a healthy brain cell. So a lot of what we're going to go over are going to be a lot of fat-sourced foods. So fats help our brain cells form a double-layered membrane around itself, which is a boundary layer. So it's going to protect it from outside things trying to get in. It's also going to help it, again, I'm going to try my best to do this, but we know how that goes. So this one also is going to have a fat layer. The fat is also going to help it send signals to each other. So you see this little gap in between here. This is going to be important to send signals from one brain cell to the next. So fat is going to be a good source of that. It's going to help insulate and protect our brains. We know that not all fat is created equal, so some trans fats, those greasy fats, they're not actually good for our brain, so don't get confused with that. In particular, we're going to talk about omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA, which I think maybe a lot of you have heard about. So that's going to be found in foods such as mackerel, sardines, salmon, fatty fish, caviar, chia seeds, walnuts, soybeans, and krill. So in his podcast, Dr. Huberman actually goes over how important EPA is with the battle of depression and enhancing mood. He's found studies that I'll try to find and link for you guys below that has effects on mood and well-being on par with antidepressants, and that if you supplement with the right amount of EPA, which seems to be 1 to 3 grams a day, it can actually, if you are on some antidepressants, it can help lower your dose of antidepressants. Of course, don't listen to some random guy on YouTube. Go ahead and talk about it with your healthcare professionals. And we know that omega-3s are also a part of cardiovascular health and heart health. And you wonder, the connection between the heart and the brain is going to be, of course, a supply of blood, and blood brings oxygen. So the brain uses a lot of oxygen and a lot of energy. So 40% of our total body, this little or big thing here, uses 40% of the total amount of oxygen and energy. So the healthier your heart, the healthier your brain. And so what do? It took me a while to end up developing a taste for fish, whether that's age or what, I don't know, but I used to hate fish. And if it has the slightest fishiness taste to it, I will still not eat it. I don't eat krill, I don't eat caviar, I don't eat a lot of these things, walnuts, soybeans. So what I will do is supplement with a EPA, DHA. My favorite supplementation company right now is called Thorne. They have they're the only ones that are approved by, all types of accrediting sources, and they really seem to make the best supplements. So I'll use a Thorne, I think it's called Super EPA. I'll show you guys what it is. And that's what I'll supplement with. I'll do 1 to 2 pills with breakfast, 1 to 2 pills with dinner, and that'll get me to my 1 to 3 gram threshold that I need. So another fatty acid that Dr. Huberman discussed in his podcast is called phosphatidylserine. So phosphatidylserine is a fatty substance called a phospholipid bilayer. Put 2 and 2 together. It protects the cells and your brain and carries messages between them. Phospholipids also play an important part in keeping your memory and your mind sharp. So helps you remember things, helps you recall things. So this is only done in animal studies, but animal studies have been shown suggest that levels of this substance in the brain decrease with age. So supplementation as we get older, or eating the right food sources are going to play a big part in keeping your brain healthy as we age, keeping that longevity that we talked about. So phosphatidylserine is found in meats, cabbage. It's a very big part of soy, white beans, egg yolks, and organ meat, chicken liver and beef liver. A quick note on egg yolk. I know it gets a bad rep about cholesterol, but I think there's a lot of research coming out that dietary cholesterol is not that bad for you. So don't be scared of egg yolks. Egg yolks are good. The recommended dose is 300 milligrams. And so what do? This is the first time I've heard of phosphatidylserine, but if you look at my 8 ways to boost your brain health article, I unknowingly included food sources for phosphatidylserine. Inside of that article, I discussed things such as organ meat, eggs, leafy greens, which are a great source of phosphatidylserine, as well as great sources of vitamin C, copper, choline, vitamin D, and all of your B vitamins. So check that article out. And also, if you want to supplement with it, maybe you can comment and let me know what supplements you enjoy for phosphatidylserine. I'm sure Thorne has one. But maybe if you guys suggest some, I can give it a try. So next we'll move on to choline, which is another big part of the 8 ways to boost your brain health. There's a whole section on there about choline, and I know specifically about the amount of choline that's in eggs. Great source of choline, so a nice hard-boiled egg for breakfast is a good idea. Choline is the precursor to acetylcholine, which is a neuromodulator that enhances neurons involved in focus and alertness. So again, when you're having your breakfast, have a boiled egg. Be a little bit more focused, a little bit more alert throughout the day. So acetylcholine allows the neurons in your brains to focus. Think about it as your brain's highlighter. It can help your brain highlight what's important throughout the day and help you focus on it. As a matter of fact, Alzheimer drugs actually help to enhance the amount of acetylcholine available to neurons. So with Alzheimer's, you have a lower amount of acetylcholine available. So they're going to give you drugs to help raise that amount of acetylcholine. Additional sources other than eggs for choline to help the precursor form acetylcholine is potatoes, nuts, seeds, grains, fruit. Food sources are the best option for acetylcholine, but there are supplements available, and it's recommended that you have 500 milligrams to 1 gram of choline per day. What do? I don't supplement with choline because I eat a lot of eggs. They're very easy to make, quick, and they're very filling. So I'll just eat some eggs, as well as I love potatoes, and I'll try to get some healthy grains and fruit in there to help adjust for my choline levels. In addition to the choline that's available in the egg yolk, you're going to have things such as B12, B2, vitamin A, and folate. One of the things that Dr. Huberman discussed in his podcast that surprised me was creatine being beneficial for your brain health. Many of us are familiar with creatine as a workout supplement. So creatine is going to use to help increase the workload, as it helps bring water into muscles and other tissues, thereby enhancing their function. The surprising part about creatine is that it's been shown to be beneficial in battling depression, enhancing mood regulation, and enhancing motivation. Now, whether that's creatine in combination with exercise, which exercise alone is going to help increase motivation and increase mood, I'm not sure, but it seems to work together. Creatine is a widely available supplement, as well as a food source. Is found in a bunch of meat. But if you're not a meat eater, you can go ahead and again find easy ways to supplement with creatine. Just powder form, pill form, creatine monohydrate, creatine, everything they have. So And although I'm a big meat eater, I will also still have a supplement with creatine before a workout or just throughout the day. Now, I personally notice big differences when I do take creatine and when I don't take creatine, just as far as my energy level and the amount of workload that I can perform throughout the day. The recommended dose of creatine is 5 grams per day. Usually if you have a pill or a powder, it'll give you a scooper or a number of pills that you can take to reach that 5 gram threshold. Again, I do think it's pretty easy to get all of your creatine out of just meat sources, but if you're looking for that additional creatine or you don't like meat, you should think about supplementing with creatine. One side effect of creatine is that if you're genetically prone to hair loss, it's going to speed up the amount of hair that you lose. It's going to rapidly increase your hair loss. This is due to creatine is going to increase dihydrotestosterone, DHT. So DHT is the thing responsible for hair loss, and creatine is going to increase that DHT levels. And although I've been taking creatine for a while, I am doing okay with my hair. It's not the best, but like there's still some there. But I think I have okay genes for hair. We'll see as I get older. I'll keep you guys updated. So keep that in mind. Next, we're going to move on to dark berries. So blackberries, blueberries. These are going to be well known. You know, if you look up a lot of brain stuff, they're going to have a lot of berries that you should be eating. So these are going to be well known for their antioxidant properties in the brain. They're going to help remove, harmful things in the brain. And one of the specific antioxidants is known as anthocyanins. So anthocyanins are going to reduce DNA damage and reduce brain decline in the elderly. So supplementation of 400 to 600 milligrams of anthocyanins daily is associated with increase in verbal learning and an increase in memory. So to reach that 400 to 600 milligram anthocyanin threshold, you should be trying to consume 60 to 100 grams of fresh blueberries or blackberries a day, which is about 1 cup. You know, you could put it into a smoothie, you could eat them fresh. Of course, I'm sure there are supplements that are going to help you supplement with definitely antioxidants, if not in particular anthocyanins. I just don't know of any. So I'll be the first to admit I probably don't eat enough berries, but I do have them in my freezer. So I'm gonna work on adding those to a smoothie or something, just trying to get my anthocyanins up. So lastly in this podcast, Dr. Huberman discussed one of my favorite topics, which is the brain-gut connection. We all know that we have neurons in our gut as well as neurons in our brain. And one of the things that I take religiously to supplement my gut health, to help rebuild my gut lining, is glutamine, which is a protein. So glutamine is gonna help the neurons in our gut be able to monitor fat, sugar, and protein. So what I mean by monitor is it's going to help be able to tell how much fat, sugar, and protein are in our gut and how much more we need in our gut in order to help our body function, in order to help our brain function. So glutamine is going to help monitor these things in our gut, and it's going to help the signals be able to transfer from the gut and travel through this gut-brain axis to the brain more efficiently. So our brain is going to know, hey, we need to eat a little bit more fat, we need to eat a little bit more sugar, we need to eat a little bit more protein in order to keep ourselves healthy. Glutamine supplementation can also offset some of the negative impacts on cognition. Glutamine is found in cottage cheese, beef, chicken, fish, eggs, beans, cabbage, spinach, parsley, and you guessed it, bone broth. What I try to do in addition to my glutamine consumption via bone broth, which if you're looking for a cheap and easy way to make bone broth, you can check out our bone broth recipe here. I'll go ahead and add some scoops of glutamine powder into a morning breakfast kind of glutamine, collagen, athletic green mix with some probiotics in it. And then that helps get glutamine on an empty stomach. So there you have it. Those are great ways to increase the brain's building blocks. So as our brain begins to degrade, as we age, we can go ahead and keep it healthy by providing it with the nutrients that it needs to create more brain cells. So if you know of any other ways to help keep your brain strong and healthy, go ahead and comment below. I would love to learn some, because there's always more to learn. There's always room to improve, and there's always room to grow. Hey, don't go anywhere. If you loved that video, then you'll love this too. I'll see you there.